Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. This is my Chihuahua Spirit. He's a good boy. He passed away just before Christmas last year, but he came back. Say hi, Chihuahua. Hi. Anyway, he's going to be our mascot here for the next video. Oh, this is Austin here. You remember, I think you guys met Austin. And my other Chihuahua, Ginger. See, they look alike, don't they? Anyway, I thought we'd have some fun today because kind of getting a little bored with the spirit boxes. They take so long to listen to and they take twice as long to edit. So I thought today it might be fun to talk about some paranormal places. I think I wanted to start someplace close to home. I wanted to talk about the Tyng Mansion in Tyngsborough, Massachusetts. Now this place goes way back to 1640 when the Tyngs first came to the United States, back when it was a British colony. Edward Tyng, the original Tyng to come to the United States, was granted a whole bunch of land in the United States on the East Coast, and then he bought a lot more. So basically he was granted everything from what's now Lowell, Massachusetts, all the way up to parts of southern Maine, and he named it Dunstable. Over the years, though, it's been separated into different parts. One part is called Tyngsborough, named after his family, the Tyng family. He had a great-grandson named John Alford. John Alford was like a great-grandson of a very rich family. He became sort of a brat kind of thing. He was the ladies' man. He was the partying guy, however you partied in the late 1600s, early 1700s. Anyway, he was that guy. He married somebody in Boston because it was an arranged marriage, but she didn't like him, he didn't like her, and her family didn't like his reputation. So he wasn't really accepted in the Boston society, so he spent a lot of time in Tyngsborough. He convinced a servant lady named Judith Thompson that he was in love with her. He got a fake preacher to marry them, so it wasn't really a real marriage. And depending on what story you listen to, whether you go with the old stories back in the 70s and 80s or the new stories that are around around about now, she had a child and he killed her and the child, or had the doctor kill her and the child immediately, or he had 3 children with her and then killed her. After that, her ghost started to haunt him. And it was really bad haunting, to the point where he built 3 different houses to get away from her because she just kept driving him crazy. No matter where he went, people thought he was insane because he would yell, "Get away from me! Leave me alone!" He became the lunatic in those days. Till finally, after building the 3rd house, his father got really upset with him and came up to Tyngsborough, to Dunstable, to see what was going on with him. And when he found out what happened, he decided to pay off her family. And when he did, her ghost started haunting him too. So now her ghost is haunting the father, who either committed suicide or died of a heart attack. And now his grave is cursed, so if you go to the cemetery where they're buried and you touch his grave, you're going to have nightmares. And there's supposed to be a strange green glow that comes off of his stone. John Alford eventually could not leave his house because he was on his deathbed. No one was helping him. And every time someone tried to get in, Judith's ghost would push them out the door. Major Butterfield, who was a family friend, came in and said he was a good Christian and he couldn't be chased away by any evil ghosts. So he pushed past her and ran up to the bedroom to help Tyng. And when he got up there, John Alford was on his deathbed, this close to dying. And he looked at him and he said, "Can I help you? What can I do?" And Judith's ghost appeared over the bed holding a baby. And she said, "John Alford is all of death and destruction. He shall never be remembered. His name shall forever vanish from his tombstone, and his memory will be erased from all mouths." And then she disappeared, but as she was disappearing, she put her hand over his head and drew his soul out of his body, they say, and his face made a horrible grimace, like or something like that, and he died right there in Butterfield's arms. 100 years later, a guy who I believe his name was Tim White was riding from Boston to Portsmouth, and he was in a carriage with 2 horses, and as he was going up the Merrimack River, it was getting dark and it was cold and he was tired, and he saw some lights on in sort of in a little path off the bushes, and he decided to go to that house and see if he could find shelter for the night. So when he got there was this beautiful woman holding a baby, opened the door and said to him, "Sure, I can give you shelter, but you have to promise that you'll stay in the bedroom upstairs. My husband's not home, so if you don't mind if I lock you in there. Otherwise, you can't stay." And he said, "I don't have a problem with that. As long as you give me a place for the night, I don't mind at all." So she brought him up to this really nice appointed bedroom, locked him in, and he said, "What about my horses?" She said, "I had the stable boy bring them to the stable. They'll be fed. They'll be taken care of. Don't worry about it. In the morning I'll come and I'll unlock the door." So he felt really good. He went to bed. He went to sleep. The next morning, he wakes up and he's shivering, and he doesn't know what's going on. When he opens his eyes, he finds that he's lying flat on a wooden floor. The floorboards have no rug, no nothing, no bed, nothing. He's on a flat wooden board, and he finds that even some of the clapboard and some of the plaster is missing on the wall. You can feel the wind blowing in from outside, and he's like, "What's going on? This isn't how it was the night before." He gets up and he runs down the stairs, and the lady's not there. The downstairs is just as dilapidated. He runs out to find out what happened to his horses, and they're standing in a stable area, but they're still connected to the cart. They haven't been rubbed down or put a blanket on them or anything. He looks at the house. The house that was once beautiful and all lit up is now this derelict house with boards falling off. He panics. He goes riding to the next town as fast as he can, and they say, "Oh well, happened to you too. It's happened to a lot of people." And it did. It did. There's so many stories of people going to that house, seeing this woman holding a baby. Sometimes there's even a party going on, and the person who's greeted at the door by the lady and the baby are invited in. Those who enter will find themselves alone the next day in an abandoned house, wondering what happened. And then there's the story from this woman in the 20s. She bought a house nearby. She actually bought the Butterfield house. She went over there to meet her neighbors, and she was dressed in a really nice outfit from the 1920s. When she knocked on the door, a woman in a beautiful green evening gown of the type that would have been worn in the 1700s answered the door. And the woman was holding a glass with something to drink in it. In her other arm, she was holding a baby. The woman said, "We're having a party. Why don't you come in?" So she came in and she started meeting people, and at first she thought, "I must be at a costume party because look at them. They're all from a time period. This must be a themed party." One of the women came over to her and very quietly said to her something about her dress being inappropriate. She started thinking to herself, "Is there something wrong? Maybe her slip is showing." She turned around and looked down like that to see if maybe her slip was showing or maybe her garters were showing. And then when she looked back up, the house was empty, and she was standing in an empty room. Everything is gone. All the shiny chandeliers and all the sconces with the candles and the beautiful music and all the beautiful people. And there she was, standing in an empty, derelict house. In 1978, the Tyng Mansion burned down and was eventually covered with a parking lot. But that didn't stop the supernatural. Though the mansion house burned down a long time ago, there's still plenty of paranormal activity in the area. Visit, if you will, the family plot, and you will see a lot of things. If you're interested, drive down Middlesex Road in Tyngsborough. It's along the Merrimack River. You can't miss it. But if you go, don't say I didn't warn you. Love you guys. Please subscribe. Let's get this going. Hope you enjoyed the story. See you next time. And put in the comments what you think, if we should do more of this. Bye.